Not yet. No, of course not. Waiting for Rebecca. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our meeting on June 5th, first meeting of the month of June. We start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so could you all please rise? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have some representatives from Suffolk County and our Code Bureau. We start the meetings with questions and discussions about public safety. So, Johnny and representatives from Suffolk, if you could come forward, please. Thank you. They can give their reports, and then we'll go ask the audience if they have any questions regarding.
I'm the community liaison for the 6th precinct. With me, I have Officer William Carroll, who just graduated from the academy.
Excuse me, if you could hit the green button because we are live streaming.
It's on. There you go.
Perfect.
Should I rewind all the way to the beginning? All right, here we go. Officer Muller, Suffolk County PD. I'm the community liaison. I'm here with Officer William Carroll. He just graduated from the academy. He has some experience behind his belt. He worked in Brooklyn in the NYPD, then the MTA. And part of the training that we started conducting a few classes ago was for them to spend some time with the community liaisons like myself or the COPE office to understand where the complaints are coming from whenever they're responding to them, whenever they're getting complaints specifically to speeding, stop signs, so they have a better, clear understanding of where all this is generated from. I'm going to go through the statistics from last year, this time, to comparison to this year. We received less calls this year than last year. We answered 365 911 calls here. Overall, no felony charges or calls, no assaults, no burglaries, which is great, no robberies, which is great. You just had an increase of harassment. Harassment being people maybe putting their hands on each other, maybe push you, somebody gets slapped. Most of those come from domestic violence disputes, parents, kids, grandparents, and so on, and that's exactly what happened here. We answered less aided calls than last year, so medical calls were 117 last year, this year 84. You had 0 overdoses, just like last year, which is great. And a total of 19 reported motor vehicle accidents were answered to by the 6th precinct. I only observed one scam that was answered to Port Jeff. This is the season for scams to be sent out electronically via text, email, or even phone calls. Last year there was a scam where a woman, elderly woman, was scammed out of $650,000. And the county was only able to recover 150 of that. So be careful when somebody asks you for money. We are available to conduct a presentation or a class on scams, especially for our senior citizens, make sure that they're protected. So feel free to contact the COPE office to arrange that. Our meeting is on the 13th of the month, this month at 10 in the morning. So feel free to stop by on the 13th at 10, our 400 Middle Country Road in Selden. And you can get a more open statistics for the entire 6th precinct. Any questions? Perfect. Love that. Thank you.
Would it be safe to say crime is down in the village of Port Jefferson?
Yes, very much so, yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Hi, I'm John Barrero, the acting chief. We do have a new chief. I'll introduce him in a minute. Good that we have our whiskey units back with us from 4 to 3 o'clock in the morning, working with us very closely, and they're great. Trying to get our bike patrol started. People ask me, it's coming. We have a bike unit that goes in and out of the traffic real quick. The beaches. We have the plate readers. It's going to be hard this year, 4th of July, to scan every plate. We're going to ask residents to show their license when they come to the roadblocks. It'll make it easier for us. We can't scan 3,000 cars. So we have scanners now. Your registers, just show your license when you come, it'll be a lot easier. I do want to talk about one scam we had with an older couple here. 3 weeks ago, she was scammed with $20,000. They called and said, your grandson's locked up in Village Hall. So they came here early, 9 o'clock. We don't have no jail here. There's no grandson here. So we sat them down. She took $20,000 out of the bank. So just be careful. There's so many scams. My sister got scammed too. Like he said, they were on the roll. Anyway, Suffolk County came. We called them. We went to the house with the woman. He never showed up. But he told her to meet him at Village Hall, which was really a dumb thing. So they got away clean, and they said the grandson was in trouble and he needs money. And she went to the bank and got the money. I felt so bad for them. Anyway, that's all I have. It's been very quiet with us. Now, whiskey, they're going to do all the work. I'd like to introduce our new chief, Mr. Andrew Owens. About a nice round of applause for Andrew.
I want to start off by thanking the mayor, the deputy mayor, and the board for giving me this position, giving me the opportunity to work with everybody. I look forward to it. I embrace it. My background, I've been here for a little bit more than a year. I got promoted to sergeant about 2 months ago. I think my work ethic speaks for itself. Prior to this, I did 20 years in the New York City Police Department. I retired with no extra holes, so that's a good thing. Like I said, you'll see me around. I'm going to be very visible. I'll be out there. I'm going to be very, very transparent, as much as I can be with the Code Bureau, giving you folks as much information as we possibly can without, jeopardizing anything. But we'll be out there. We have a few new hirees. We're looking at a few more. So especially the summertime, we know how busy it gets down here. So we're looking forward to doing a lot of good work this summer and beyond, working with Suffolk County and of course all of you folks. So thank you very much again to the board and the mayor.
Andrew, best of luck with you. Do we have any comments or questions from the public with regard to public safety this evening? Of Suffolk and/or Code? No. Magnificent. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, the rest of the meeting, we have 2 public hearings.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Sorry.
Before we start with the public hearing, I know some of you are here for this being the mayor's last meeting in 14 years of her service, so I would like to personally thank you for your dedication. You're a gift to this community, and we will miss you tremendously. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. I have something I prepared. I'll say it when I give my report, so you have to stay here for a little while. I know that's hard for some of you. Most of you have been here before, and we have our returns. And thank you, Kathy Ann, and thank you, everybody. We have 2 public hearings this evening. First one is to add a stop sign at Old Post Road West and the intersection of Liberty Avenue. Basically what happens is we explain the code, we ask the board if they have any questions, then we put it out to the public to see if they have any comment, and based on public comment, we move forward or we modify. So there are two of those. The first one I think will be not so difficult. The other one I think we have certain people here to comment on that, and then we'll go into trustees' reports and then hear from the public, because I do see a lot of new faces, and I love that because it's all about community engagement. Brian.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of the board, trustees, members of the public. Again, as the mayor stated, this is a very self-explanatory. Tonight are two traffic public hearings tonight. The first one is to add a stop sign at Old Post Road West at its intersection with Liberty Avenue when you're traveling west. So it's at that location. That's the first public hearing.
That's it. It's that easy? It's that easy. Okay. So any questions or comments from the Board of Trustees? Rebecca?
I know I've spoken to a couple of residents who live on that street there. This is something that they feel will be very helpful because they're having to look both ways. There's a stop in one direction, not the other, so traffic sometimes gets confused in that regard. So I'm glad to see this happening and hope it continues to improve safety.
Great. Kathy Ann?
Just a quick comment. I think it is definitely necessary. We have a lot of students that walk from the high school, middle school down that way and want to turn and go up Liberty Avenue. For the traffic that's coming up the road heading west, where there's currently no stop sign, the kids don't always know that there's no stop sign there. They assume the traffic's going to stop because they're always taught at intersections, stop and wait for the cars to stop. So I think it's imperative that we add that stop sign unless there are any major objections otherwise.
Any other? Lauren?
Just a quick comment. It's not an objection, but it's just a point to make that in the mornings when and the afternoons when parents are dropping their children off at the end of the driveway of the high school and picking them up again in the afternoon at the end of the driveway in the high school, I wonder how much that stop sign will impact the backup of traffic coming up Liberty and turning on to Liberty. So I was just wondering that, if we observed that at all as part of the...
Well, point of order. Just asking, is anybody, I don't think we have a traffic expert in the room, but that's a good point to make. Does any other board member have a comment or concern or question?
I know that there's a sidewalk all along that area, so perhaps parents would choose to drop their children off on the sidewalk, and then the children might walk just a little bit further. If there's sort of a line, they might say it's a block. So it's up to the parent.
Thank you. Put it out to the general public for any comment or suggestion. To come to the front of the room, hit the green dot, red dot, make it green, speak into the microphone, please. Chuck. Good, how you doing? Little button on the bottom of there you go. And you can actually, Chuck, if you want to raise the gooseneck to your mouth, please. There you go. Make sure the button's green.
Hey,
Okay.
Charles Brock, 307 Myrtle Avenue, Port Jefferson. I've probably lived in this village longer than just about any of the people in this room. And there was a rationale for not having that stop sign there. Because I've questioned it a few times, but the rationale was for funeral processions. Funeral processions make that left to go to the cemetery. And with a stop sign there, if you have a large funeral procession, you're going to have a certain amount of chaos. So the only thing that I would suggest is to let the local funeral directors know that this is about to happen, and maybe post one of our code officers there when there's a funeral procession. Otherwise, you could have a lot of chaos.
Okay.
That's a great suggestion, and I do know that in larger funeral processions, there will be Suffolk County Police that will be in attendance to make sure they ride ahead, they stop at the intersections and close them off to allow the procession to go, but notifying the local funeral homes would be definitely helpful. Thank you.
Otherwise than that, it's probably a great idea to put that stop sign there.
Thank you, Chuck. Anybody else? Public comment about a stop sign at the top of Old Post West and Liberty. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Hi. Oops, I broke it. Dina's Campo. I pick up my daughter every day. Sorry? Oh, 5 Waters Edgeway, Port Chef. In the morning, drop off, pick up. So during pickup, in the morning, everyone's in a rush. So I don't think it would really matter because that road can only handle so many cars. So at some point, you have to stop if it's backed up. So the stop sign will just make it even more manageable. And at pickup, same thing. Everyone shows up at the same time. So it's already backed up to the stop sign. If they stop at the stop sign, it just continues to line up. So as cars move, then all the other cars move. So it's really not going to make any, unless you, I don't know, lengthen the road from that Main Street part, which is not going to happen. So it should be definitely much needed and overdue.
Thank you. Anyone else from the general public to comment on the stop sign? Old Post Road West and the intersection of Liberty. If not, I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearings. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. I apologize. Please come forward. Or maybe, yeah, can we help him? Can we assist?
Good evening. I'm Tom Randall. I've lived in this village for, I believe, about 45 years. At any rate, I was wondering what the, in terms of the curb, or is there a curb on the, when you're a pedestrian going up the hill, at least the Old Post?
There's a sidewalk in place, correct?
Okay. Is the sidewalk higher than the road itself?
I mean, is there a lip between the roadway and there's a curb to the sidewalk?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. 211 Hawthorne Street, Port Jeff.
So you said Hawthorne? Hawthorne Street, thank you very much.
Any other comments from the public with respect to the stop sign Old Post Road West and Liberty? If not, motion to close the public hearing. Motion made, seconded by Mayor Garant. All in favor of closing the public hearing. Motion to adopt the installation of the stop sign. So moved by Cassay, seconded by Snaden. All in favor? Aye. Was that an aye, Lauren? Did you vote? Okay. Yes. Next public hearing is to amend Chapter 2245-61, and this is to add parking restrictions on both sides of Brook Road between Old Post Road West and Lower Brook Road, Caroline Avenue. Brian?
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Not much again to add in commentary beyond that. The proposal is to add no parking on both sides of Brook Road between Old Post at the bottom and Lower Brook Road, Caroline Avenue on the north, except in marked stalls. So if DPW otherwise marks out approved stalls, they would be approved, but otherwise there would be no parking on both sides of Brook Road.
I'm going to turn this over to Kathy Ann since she worked with the Highway Department on this.
Yes, so the history of this potential code change started over a year ago with multiple complaints to myself, to the Highway Department, to the Building and Planning Department about speeding on Brook Road. Most specifically at 7:30ish in the morning after people do the drop-off, as Ms. Campo explained, they go down to cut back downtown, and going down that big wide road with the big hill, there were a lot of speeding issues. And again, at pickup time when kids are crossing the street, but not so much, middle of the day. So we had reached out. One of the first things we did was reach out to Suffolk County Police for speed patrols. We put our speed trailer there. Did it deter a little bit? A little bit, but we continue to get the complaints, multiple complaints throughout the year. So we had done an kind of informal traffic study on California Avenue when there were complaints about speeding there. We spoke to Ray DeBias, who is a traffic engineer and he gave us multiple potential solutions to mitigate speeding. One of those potential most cost-effective, efficient ways to control speeding would be to add a median and to narrow the roadway, being that the roadway was so wide. That was something that the Highway Department took it upon themselves to do. They did it very quickly within a couple of days, and it helped. The reports back from the residents who were complaining about the speed said it's not perfect, but it's definitely helping. So in doing so, it created obviously the narrower lanes, which is the whole point of doing the median. But by narrowing the lanes, you lose all of the extra space for the parking along the field. So the next step would be to eliminate the parking in front of the field and bring it down to the bottom of the hill where, as you know, when you go down the hill and it starts to curve, the road is much, much wider. That seemed like it would be a great idea. So the process for doing that would be to bring it to the public hearing, to hear from the public, to hear from the residents, to anyone that visits the field from the school district. And let me back up. These meetings also included officials from the school district. Wait for a second.
Sounds like a church sermon.
So I'll go back. All of these discussions also, of course, included the school district. We met on site numerous times to look at the roadway, to talk to their superintendent as well as their director of, I'm sorry if I mess up his title, director of buildings and grounds, I want to say. Thank you. And that was the general consensus, that would be what would work. In addition to removing the parking, adding the parking below, there were two other solutions that the school district came up with. One being adding a sidewalk on the field side of Brook Road, which we went out and made another visit with their concrete a company to give us an estimate give the school district the estimate for that. And additionally, part of the school doing their regrading on the side of the middle school is to add a pathway that would give access from the school parking lot to the field without having to go through the school building. So all of those different concepts brought together was what the solution, a potential solution we came up with would be. So that brings us to this public hearing. At our last public board meeting, I very strongly said that I wanted to hear from all residents in that area because I know removing parking from one street is going to affect the Poet streets, the side streets, even though there's already parking on those streets, and I see a lot of the residents here from there, that area, so I'm very grateful for that. That would probably be affected even more so during these school events. So here we are at the public hearing. We got word out on social media. I've been talking to people as we go along, and I'm so glad you're all here. Thank you to, I won't name names because I don't want to leave anybody out, but anybody who helped get the word out, I appreciate you and thank you for getting everyone here because this is how we get things done, is bringing everybody together and hearing all the voices. In the meantime, all day today, I was getting and responding to...
Can we have the nutshell version, please?
No.
Okay, this is about the code change, not, okay, how do we, let's...
Well, I want everybody to understand the process and how we got to this point.
Let's go.
So I responded to all of those emails. So there are a lot of people that emailed me throughout the day with their opinions on this code change as well. So with that, those that are here, we would all love to hear from you and to where you live and how this may or may not affect you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hold on. Are there any other board members who have comment? Rebecca and Lauren and Stan.
Great. So I think there's definitely a need to look at what's happening there, not happening there. Some of the comment that came in referred to the issues that some folks who are either have different abilities, who might have a handicap sticker, and not, or just physically be tasking to walk up the hill from the parking spots lower down. I'm happy to hear that there could be approved handicap spots that are put closer to the entrance there, so there's room for consideration there. I'm very glad that last meeting, 2 meetings ago, we were able to approve a village-wide walkability and traffic calming study, so I would be hopeful that this would be a part of that conversation. And whatever is determined tonight will be examined either to say, yes, this is the right thing, or, to shift. Public hearings are, they're noticed, and then people show up, and so nothing, but nothing is written in stone. So we definitely want to make sure that our liability is decreased. People's as far as people's safety goes, we want to make sure that we have the safest thing in place that we can in the short term. But I am most interested to hear from the public, to hear their perspectives, and then also looking forward to hearing from the engineers looking at Brook Road and saying what the proper solutions might be from their perspective as well. I think also with school being out, I don't know if there are a lot of sport events there during the summer. So we depending on public comment, we might have time to sort of keep chewing on this a bit and collecting data before making any decision.
So just, you brought up the handicap spots. The handicap spots that are currently there as you enter the field will remain. That's school property,
Great, thank you.
regardless of what happens tonight.
Thank you. And the idea of the school putting a sidewalk in would be very exciting, both for the safety of parents, children, and also the folks who like to get their exercise, busting their butt up and down Brook Road. It's, it's pedestrian safety is so important throughout the village.
Thank you, Rebecca. Stan, did you have a comment? No comment? Warren, did you have a comment?
Yeah. So I wondered what the status was of the concrete sidewalk project, the potential for the concrete sidewalk project.
The school district.
Mm-hmm.
They were meeting on that today. I have not gotten word back.
And is that in addition to, is the consideration in addition to potentially preventing parking on either side of Brook, or in
Separate
lieu
and-
of
separate
two
and apart.
separate things? Like
One is not required for the other to happen.
Uh-huh. And the walkway is part of the retaining wall project?
Correct.
That this behind the middle school, right?
Correct.
And where does, what's the, that goes behind, does it go behind the middle school? Is that what it is? It's from the parking area down below, up through behind the GCA, the old GCA building, the middle school building? You like that one, Margot? GCA building. But is that where the
I'm wondering
walkway
if
comes
a
up?
school board person could maybe answer these questions that are,
I don't know exactly where it goes, so.
okay.
So my understanding, when I asked that question, is it would go from the parking lot up the side of the school, as opposed to going through the doors into the staircase and up that
So
way.
behind the building,
Yeah.
potentially.
Possibly. I didn't see the plans.
And so what I understood was that the real impetus for action and for the calming mechanism of the double yellow and the painted median was due to that event on April 12th, that there was a huge track meet where all the buses left the student athletes get off the buses on Brook Road, which caused great traffic concerns because school buses have the stop signs that come out when you open the doors, and it stops traffic completely. So if
Okay,
there's-
guys, I'm going to refocus us on the code change before us and not on a conversation about an event that took place on April 12th, just to get back to a point of order. So the code change is calling for no parking on both sides of Brook Road. How we got here is kind of, I mean, it's important backstory, but it's taking a little long. Would you guys agree? Okay, so for as long as I can remember, there's been a track meet that takes place at the school. Multiple schools come, they offload. It's a disaster for this neighborhood. We've been trying
they
to
usually offload down.
well, we've been trying to
below.
coordinate, with the community and the school, and it just doesn't seem to ever work. So this is a attempt to traffic to calm and slow the people down on Brook Road. We put those ginormous speed bumps on the bottom of the road. We're not allowed to do that anymore throughout the village because the fire department really is not interested in any more speed tables. So this is an effort to slow people down on Brook, because I think everybody in this room agrees that people are driving too fast. Is there a consensus? Okay. So this is a first past attempt, and it requires eliminating parking or redirecting the parking at the base of the hill in order to narrow the road. So I'm going to move from the board members to the general public for comment.
Just point of information, is this no parking and no standing, or just no parking?
Brian?
Just regarding the school bus.
Parking
Okay.
prohibited.
But would that address a school bus loading and unloading issue?
No.
So comments from the general public. Anna, please come forward. Anybody putting a public statement into the record, speak into the microphone because we are live if anybody's still at home.
Anna Khazanova, 102 Hawthorne Street. I don't have an opinion whether there should or shouldn't be a parking restriction on Brook Road. The challenge.
I'm sorry. Did you say parking restriction or
Parking restriction?
parking restriction? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard you
I do not
correctly.
have an opinion on that.
Okay.
I
That's
do
what-
have a concern because yesterday, day before yesterday, I walked the neighborhood dropping off the flyers, notifying people about the fact that there will be this hearing, and I hit up exactly 41 homes. I spoke to 12 homes. 4 of those, so that's a third of them, knew nothing about this hearing. And 4 of those homes were very much affected by the Brook Road. So they didn't know that that was happening. 3 knew, but they knew because Charlie Backfish notified them. And 4 others on the Brook Road, I just left flyers because no one was home. The other people that I spoke with, I spoke to 14 homes in the larger neighborhood out of 41. 8 did not know that the hearing is happening. 3 knew from Charlie, 1 was Charlie, and 2 knew, I wasn't sure where knew they exactly from. So my concern is that this is such a significant development, and it is disappointing to me that the village didn't take a greater effort in notifying residents about this other than through the legal notices. And the second issue is that I walk that road all the time, and I'm not really sure how restriction of the parking there, unless there is a concrete plan to put in the sidewalk, will impact the safety of pedestrians. Because especially when people drive up and down, it is still, now with the 2 double yellow lines, when I walk there, the cars now come much closer. They basically, if before when I was walking on that road, the cars will drive onto the other side and then drive past me, now they're driving much closer. Because now the choice is, do I break the lane regulations or do I go closer to the pedestrian? So these are the things that I wanted to bring in to the record, and I am happy to share the statistics of the people that I spoke with. Shall I
That's
send
fine.
it over to you?
You can maybe give them to Barbara Sakovich, and she will attach them as an exhibit. Thank you, Anna. And, okay. Anybody else? Brian? Wow. Oh, no, I called the gentleman in the back of the room, please.
Hello, Chris Wilson. I live on Brook Road. I kind of knew there was something going on because they were painting stripes on the road, and I asked the stripers what was going on, and they just said, we're just following orders, so we don't know what we're doing, but we're making stripes. All right. Then I saw posts going to ground for signs, but there's no signs yet. There's only posts. So then the lady came to my door that just spoke, and I got the flyer yesterday. So, I mean, in my opinion, I live on Brook Road. Of course, I don't want the parking, but I'm not the only one, you know, that's going to be affected. So, in my opinion, just common sense, the whole neighborhood, not the President Streets, but Emerson and Hawthorne and all those, that neighborhood is going to get, forget about it, wiped out with cars. When they have that large event with the multi-schools, I mean, I've seen double rows going up Emerson, and it leaves you like this much to get through. Now you got a person who doesn't know where they're going, coming up the hill, and then someone coming down the hill, then you got the standoff. Then they're trying to back into someone's driveway. It's a mess. So common sense, the student athletes, they can walk up a hill. Let them go in front of the high school with their bus, unload, come up the steps, go around the school, whatever they're going to do, they can make it. If there's people who can't make the walk, give them a shuttle. Let them park in the teacher's parking lot. Have a Port Jeff bus over there. If you can't make it up the hill, we have a bus for you. We'll drop you off. Kind of simple.
Yeah, that's
that's-
all up to the school, because we need to know when this event is happening.
Yeah.
So we can coordinate with them. So,
I'm sure that event is planned, a year in advance. That
well, yeah,
county track meet, whatever. But
it is, but this year we didn't unfortunately get the notice ahead of time to notify everybody else.
yeah. Well, the
And no
sidewalk.
offense to our school representatives.
The sidewalk's a great idea because even now, like she said, the road is narrower, so you're kind of squeezed on the side, and cars are buzzing up and down.
So what? I'm sorry. What is your stance on the proposed code change?
I'd say no parking on Brook Road and extend the signs up into the other neighborhoods. If there's a big event, you got to park in front of the school or in the teacher's parking lot, walk up the hill, or get a shuttle if you can't make it. Simple. That's all.
Okay, thank you
Could
very much.
Could I ask you?
Chris?
I'm sorry. Could I ask you, or anyone that is in a favor of the sidewalk, maybe write to the school district and let them know your feelings about that? I'm fully in support of it, and as a village representative, will do whatever the school district needs to assist them in getting that done.
No, but is the sidewalk for the event? Because if they're not parking there, why do they need a sidewalk? Is a sidewalk for
Well, it's
safety?
to help
Otherwise,
facilitate people who are parking below, like down by
Or below
Caroline
coming
Field, to
up.
walk up safely
right?
to the ball field.
No, great idea.
Or like Ms.
All
Hoytsonova, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, Anna, stated, anybody walking up the roadway.
Yeah,
So
no,
the
it's a-
sidewalk can serve multi-purposes.
I'll
but
write a
it
letter,
is-
no problem.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Before you walk away, just give me, you live on Brook Road, I just need your address. Thank you very much.
Regina? Jean? Good evening.
I'm a resident and also a parent of children at the school.
We just need your name and
Sorry.
address for the record.
Regina Stanton, 107 Beach Street.
Thank you.
I'm fully familiar with streets being busy and small and things happening on our streets that we don't necessarily like. However, I'm asking the court, listen to me.
It's okay.
Sorry. I'm asking the village to not put signs on the street, no parking signs. Everyone's talking about this one event. We're going to put signs on the street for one event. I mean, it's actually baffling. There's several points I'd just like to make. First of all, the road is wide enough to have the vehicles on one side. And actually, when the vehicles are there, people drive slower. I'm extremely familiar with this because I walk my dog on that street almost every day. And it's when the cars aren't there that people come flying down. So those are the residents, not the people visiting, and that come down, fly up and down that street, regardless of the table. So it's my position that it would be a great imposition to the school. I'm sorry, the community members who wish to use this track as well, not just the students, but the community members who wish to walk the track, run the track, and be at that field when there's no school in session. I'd like to know where people, I apologize if I missed it, but I don't know where people are planning on parking.
So there are spaces that are marked out by the highway department at the base of the road, further down from the narrow straight section, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
And it's also my position that this would be an imposition to families, the families of the Port Jeff students and the visiting teams and their families. I do not think that's enough parking for everyone. And how are people with disabilities going to be doing this? And the gentleman before said, or forgive me, someone speaking prior to me, I believe it was the gentleman, said, oh, get a van for people who can't make the walk. And who's paying for that? The school? That the budget everyone just passed, just ruled down? I mean, it's just absurd. I've had cars pull up to me of parents who are visiting. You know, their children are at Port Jeff, but they don't go to Port Jeff school, but they're playing Port Jeff, and they always ask where the field is. And whether I'm in the circle watching a tennis match or whether I'm on Caroline, Brook, even down on Main Street, asking where the field is, they're not going to be able to find that field. it's just hard enough as it is. But I'm asking the board, sorry, not to.
Well, nobody's going to jail tonight. I hope.
I'm asking you not to put up signs. Okay, if this is one event,
so
let's
we're talking
organize
about
it better.
we're talking about
signs.
parking, so the signs would be for no parking.
Correct.
So you're asking us to keep the parking on Brook with no signage.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Jean.
Just trying to make sure I'm clear on your comment. Brenda, and then I'll move over to the side of the room. Nice shirt.
Ooh, thank you. Brenda Batter, 119 Oakwood Road, Port Jefferson. I am here on behalf of the PTSA. First of all, thank you for all of you this past year who have helped the students and the PTSA have events held at the Village Center this year. It's been incredible. Thank you for coming in and being with the elementary students, like getting, it's been such a great collaboration this past year. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. Second of all, we opened a petition this morning online to see if anyone was interested in opposing or agreeing or opposing. We got 104 signatures since 8:22 a.m. this morning. I will forward that to you. I have it here. I will put it in as an exhibit as well.
Thank you.
People opposing it. Some of the, just real quick, I'll just read some of the comments. Rose Rodriguez, she lives on Division over by Myrtle, or over off of Myrtle and the St. Infant Jesus. She says, I'm sure at one time or another you've all gone up Myrtle when there's a mass or religious education class. You know, it gets pretty crowded there, right? She goes, it can be bothersome, but that comes with living in an active village. Should the village also tell churchgoers that they're no longer allowed to park on Myrtle and Division and surrounding areas? So I thought that was interesting because it's not just Brook Road. That's a start. We stopped parking on Brook Road. What's next? Are we going to fight, are we going to not allow our churchgoers to park over there? So I thought that was an interesting point. I also represent the PTSA, which is Parents, Teachers, Students Associations, but tonight I'm going to add GG on that. That's the grandmas and grandpas who are spectators who come to these events. I will selfishly read my mother's comment. I am a grandmother to 2 children that do sports in Port Jefferson. I have a problem walking. She's 76 years old. I have a problem walking long distances. So if parking is banned on Brook Street, I would not be able to attend games and see my grandchildren play sports. There's multiple comments like that throughout here that you will have the opportunity to read if you'd like. Other parents say, hey, I have to drop off or pick up my kid who's a 12-year-old from track practice. I have to bring my toddlers with me. So if I can't even park there to pick up my kid and I got to park at the bottom of the hill, then walk up the hill with a toddler and a baby in a stroller up that hill to pick up my kid from practice. So please, do not ban parking on Brook Road. So I have multiple, again, like that here. So 104 people since 8 a.m. this morning have signed to say no.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who do I? Barbara.
Clerk Sakovich. Any other comments from to the right against the wall?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Valerie Yates. I'm a long-term resident of
Valerie, can we have your address?
Road,
Oh, thank you.
403 Brook Road.
Thank you.
So for decades, I've had a front row seat to the issues of traffic and parking on our road. My concern has always been for the safety of residents, visitors, pedestrians, and so I was appreciative of the recent attempts to slow traffic along Brook Road. Unfortunately, it has had little to no effect on speeding. When you then throw into the mix parked cars, buses, and pedestrians, many of whom have no awareness of the dangerous conditions on the road, you have a major safety issue for all concerned. A recent case in point was an event on April 12th, which was mentioned previously. I witnessed double-parked school buses unloading students and equipment and this was at the crest of the hill, with traffic traveling in both directions, barely slowing down. I'm just so grateful that no one was injured, that we didn't have an accident. No parking on both sides of Brook Road is a necessary first step in addressing safety, as is addressing speeding. Both are critical to protecting our students, neighborhood residents, visitors, and drivers as well.
I'm sorry, could you read the two last sentences for me again?
That no parking on both sides of Brook Road is a necessary first step in addressing safety, as is addressing speeding issues.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. You can see this is not easy, right? Anybody else have a comment from the public, please? Yes, Mr. Randall, you do not need to get up. Joe, can you help him with the microphone, please? Thank you so much.
I'm just curious. Most of this has been focused on Brook Road, but I'm wondering about speeding. I'm appalled. I said it with my bowl of cereal on any weekday event, and the school bus comes flying by, and I live three blocks from Brook, and I'm telling you that bus just flies by. It's well in excess of the speed limit. I don't know how that could be enforced other than this.
Well, the Village of Port Jefferson has no jurisdiction over moving vehicles, so we don't have the ability to address the speeders. That's Suffolk County Police who were here earlier. And every meeting we're talking about speeding and what we can do, such as small steps like we're trying to take this evening about traffic calming and quieting the road speed. So I appreciate your concern, and we will relay that to the 6th precinct. You're on Hawthorne, is that correct?
That's correct.
So Barbara, can you please make note to have Suffolk, what time is the bus driving by your residence? 7:30-ish?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from the public about eliminating parking on either side of Brook Road as proposed by the code change? Gail, please.
Gail Sternberg, I'm 207 Owasco Drive. I just want to back up what Valerie says. I live in the Sawassa Park area, and when there's an event there, and it doesn't even have to be the biggest event, there is a crowd. The kids are looking at their phone. It's like a carnival festival going on there. There does need to be some control, I think, just at the very top. If the bus is just dropped off kids on the side of the school, they are athletes, they should be able to walk over. For senior citizens, there is that little indentation. Drop them off there, go park. It's not that far. There's also the Caroline Avenue parking thing that's free. That would be a place that you could also walk off, right? You can walk up the hill. I walk that hill all the time. But it is a danger. There's kids there. They're not paying attention. They're coming off the bus. It's rah-rah, skipping around. And it is a major thoroughfare. Brook Road is how we in Sawassa Park avoid 25A. We go through the back. We get to CVS that way. We go right through Brook Road. Also, that's how I got here tonight, down Brook Road, even though I don't live on it. So I just want to back up. Something has to be done. It really is unsafe. And I'm going to add one more thing that wasn't brought up. But I think Barbara Sakovich had gotten my letters once before about this. The turn off of Old Post Road to make a right onto Brook Road, you cannot see if you're coming up Brook Road to make a left. And it was about 2 summers ago, we nearly hit a motorcyclist with a kid on the back. There is a crest. Right now, it says slow, dangerous intersection. They really need to stop. They need to do something because you do not see the, does anybody know what I'm talking about? No one's, yes, thank you guys. You cannot see the car until it's right there. And the top of the car and the motorcycle couldn't see at all. And that could have been a fatal accident. It's still, I get shaken just thinking about it because he veered off into somebody's lawn to avoid hitting us.
Okay.
So if somebody can look at that situation also, there is a lot of speeding. There is a lot of kids that just got their license from the high school, and they're feeling their oats. So we just need to slow down that whole situation and kind of get the congestion down too.
Thank you, Gail.
Guys.
Thank you. Yes. Ditas.
Okay, Titas Campo, 5 Waters Edgeway. I want to concur with Jean and Brenda, and I feel for all the residents around Brook Road, and especially when we have events, but I do feel that prohibiting parking along Brook Road on one side, it's not even double-sided, so maybe on the bottom it's double-sided, but I always just see one side, would really affect everything as a whole. It's been going on for the longest time, especially on weekends when all you want to do is drive up and enjoy the village and the track. To have to go down every single time when there's no parking as it is. I mean, it's so rare that we can just park as opposed to go into the village and circle around God knows how many times and find parking on busy days. So part of living close to school is having to deal with school traffic. I don't think it's a secret that when people bought homes around that area that there is no school. It's the heart of the village. To take away that right to park on Brook Road, it would be highly inconvenient. I know you guys speak about parking by the baseball field on the bottom or walking through the school, however that's going to happen. We don't even have enough parking as it is, whether you're coming from the school side or incorporating the baseball field down there. And now you're going to stop people from parking along Brook. That's going to be highly inconvenient to so many people, including the students, the families, and the visitors. And no school that I've been to, especially during track season where all those big events happen, not every week, but once in a while. So coordinating with the village cops and Suffolk County, do whatever you can. As you would see in other schools, when you enter their huge parking lots, because they're huge schools, it's not overseen by cops. They're there, managing, go left, right, whatever. You need that whether you have parking lots or street parking or whatever. So could you use more coordinating with schools? Yes. So try that first before prohibiting parking completely. And any school, towns that we go to, big or small, they accommodate the kids and the school. We are a small school district. So not accommodating the school to park there at all is taking away so much space. I don't even know, like someone said that the other streets would be packed. That will happen. And anywhere you go in Port Jefferson, there is speeding. So if you're only worried about Brook speeding, then come to my hood, come on Old Post by Jefferson Landing, come around Scraggy Hill, come around Winston, where every single time I drive there, I feel like
I'm going to try and bring it back on point.
Okay, sorry. So anyway, the point being that
I think
people are going to speed or not
we-
speed.
I th-
It's going to be happening all over the village. So what are you going to do? No parking at all anywhere?
Because we're just talking about Brook Road tonight, but thank
Right.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Tom.
Hello, I'm Tom Murphy. I live 213 Hawthorne. The traffic pattern, the way it's set up now with the island in the middle, really doesn't need no parking signs because anybody parks there is parking in the lane of traffic. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, summonses could be written just for that. You can save your sign. You know what I'm saying?
How do you feel about the parking or no parking?
Well, the traffic pattern was changed when they put that little island in the
Understand?
middle. So if somebody's parked there, they're in the lane of traffic. I
Right,
mean,
so how do you feel about parking or no parking?
I'd like no parking.
Okay, just trying to make sure I understand your point.
Yeah, well, that was my point. I was just
Okay.
saying that you don't have to put a sign up.
Understood.
The summons is with parking in the lane.
Gotcha.
Brian,
But
can we?
who's going to enforce it? Is
Thank
it
you.
going to be enforced once the signs are up?
Tom, Brian, you want to address that? Rebecca's asking you to address that? I'm not.
I think Mr. Murphy's point was common sense, and what he's saying is, hey, look, you can't you'll be parking in the traffic lane anyway. I think what the goal here is to make it no parking so it's explicitly clear, so we're not into the tape measure out and how far are you into the lane of traffic and those kind of things. Because you'd be surprised at the lack of common sense sometimes.
Yes, I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Joe, how are you?
I'm
well. How are you? It's nice to see you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm Joe Yasso. I live at 101 Lowell Place. I've lived at that address my whole life. I'm part-time in the city now, but it's still where I call home. And I am in favor of no parking on Brook Road. I think it'll be very beneficial to the neighborhood and to the traffic pattern on that road. There's just 3 things that I think should happen should that be passed. The first is that when this staircase is installed behind the middle school going up, it should be very clear that buses must use the circle in front of the school to drop people off. It just can't be on Brook anymore. It has to be there. That should be the rule with the school district. The second, just a question for Village Attorney Egan. Can you put a second sign on a post that says no parking? If we put up signs that say no parking, can you put another sign on that says slightly different messaging?
Yeah, you can in certain instances, but generally the goal, we don't want to have a lot of sign pollution because we have
Right.
signs that just looks ugly. But so in certain circumstances you can, not on every sign.
Because my thought was, could we put a sign on those that say where to park? Because my fear, and I see a lot of my neighbors here, is that they're going to be parking in front of our houses.
Understood.
And we don't want that to happen.
Understood.
The third is that I think code really needs to be taking a proactive approach when there is a track event at the
Agreed.
school to prevent people from parking on our lawns, because that's really what happened. I'm sure my neighbors would agree. They park literally on our lawns. It's happened many times. They're very disrespectful to the neighborhood. So I would hope that, yes, it would be nice to get notice, but I think code should also be pushing for notice when those types of things are going to happen. We need to make it very clear that the village has to know when something like that is happening, because it's very disruptive to our property, which is our roads.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else from the general public tonight about no parking on Brook? Miss Testa, the birthday girl. Sorry.
Jennifer Testa, 148 Christopher Bacala Road. I don't really have an opinion because I see the pros and cons to both sides, and I don't think there's a real win-win here. But something that I didn't bring up, somebody else from the back, but I'll be the spokesperson. In these big events, there's often ambulances that park on the field. I'm just thinking something to consider if, in the event of an emergency, the ambulance would need to be able to get out without congestion in the road in the event of an emergency. So I don't really have an opinion. I just sharing a thought. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Hi.
I'm Judy Randall.
You reside with this
I'm
young man you're sitting next to?
Next door to Tom Murphy and
Okay.
across the street from
But you
Joe.
live with this gentleman, this Mr.
Yes, I
Randall?
do.
Okay. What address is that?
211 Hawthorne
There you
Street.
go. Got you there.
Okay. I think that, there are good points on both sides, so that my mind has been somewhat changed. But I would like it to be a policy of where you park down by the school entrance. And because otherwise, if people just hear no parking on Brook, they're going to be right on our street. And there go the hostas. So
You have no deer in your neighborhood?
true.
True, okay.
Yes, but so I'd like it to be more of a firm policy of where school buses and parents can park. Not
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public this evening about no parking or parking on Brook? Avril, hi.
I'm Avril Coakley. I reside at 111 Tuttle Street, which is on the opposite side of the village. And there are good points on both sides. But I live on the street where the school lets out at the top of the hill between Spring and... So I understand...
The BOCES building?
Yeah, the BOCES,
Okay.
the old high school.
Thank you.
So I will attest, on our streets, there's parking on one side, and it does slow people down. When school's not in session, And, there's not a lot of cars parked. On the one side, there's permission to. People drive like maniacs. When it's a school day and the street is full, they slow down. So maybe just one side, because it does really deter people.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Any other comments about Ms. Zamek? No. Well,
Hi,
Trace.
Tracy Zamek speaking as a resident, 119 Wilson Drive. Just sitting here listening to all these very valuable comments, I just feel that maybe it's a good idea to table this for a little bit, seeing the point you made that the summertime things slow down, hearing from both sides, maybe a little more communication with the district. Maybe we can come up with, a solution and maybe at your next meeting have another discussion. Just a thought.
Appreciate that. Any other comments about parking or no parking on Brook Road? Yeah, hi, come on up.
Hi, I'm Melissa Weaver. I reside at 116 Wilson Drive. Melissa Weaver. Thank you. You're welcome. 116 Wilson Drive. Oh, sorry, sure. I know I wrote you an email this morning. My husband also wrote everyone an email, and I just want to state it here for everyone who maybe would like to know. If you look at Section 11 and you look at the fall season for football, you look at boys and girls soccer, they won't even play on Brook, they play at Scraggy. If you look at the winter season, there's no events. Spring season, boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, baseball, track, which is boys and girls, there is a grand total of 29 dates in 365 days with games that last about 2.5 hours. So you're looking to put no parking on a road that's only really using 87 hours of the year. That's all. I don't agree with no parking. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anybody who had sent in any emails, we have all that in the file, correct, Barb? We had some other write-ins. Okay. Any other comments about parking or no parking on Brook Road? Going once. Joe, second bite of the apple only for you. Because you're so cute.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Really quick, I think it should be very clear that this is not about the events that are being held. It's about speeding on Brook Road 365 days a year. It happens. We have a wider median now to slow things down. There's now people parking in the lane of traffic, as Mr. Murphy said. And it's important that we stop people from parking it. Even though it is like a technicality, it's important that we do it because it will help the overall plan to slow traffic down by having those wider medians. It's not about events. It's about speeding all the time. Even if there's 2 cars there, it's dangerous.
Thank you. He's the only one who gets the second bite of the... No, I'm kidding. Anybody else who spoke before want a second bite of the apple to reinforce a point? I think we're good, right? Okay. I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. All in favor? Okay. So it's 5. We've closed the public hearing. I don't think the board is going to vote this evening on this. I'd like to chew on this. I'd like to discuss it. And I'd like to make sure that we're looking at this with a comprehensive lens. Okay, so...
I would also like to talk further with the school district.
Yeah, of course.
And,
the whole thing is communication, right? I mean, like knowing when this is going to happen is a good thing. Okay. All right, thank you for everybody who came out for that particular hearing. Your comments are invaluable, and this is why we have this process. I'm going to move on to a presentation. We have members of the Conservancy here this evening. The Conservancy is the 501c3 not-for-profit organization that helps us down at Harborfront Park and has expanded their mission statement and to Treasure Your Parks, helping us raise funds to, for instance, rebuild Rocket Ship Park when we did that. They're also instrumental in helping us maintain the grounds and the facility at Harborfront Park. Members of the Conservancy are here this evening. We have President Lisa Perry, historian Chris Ryan, Bob Giuliano. I think Betty Ann had to leave. I think church bell went off for her. Charmaine Famularo. Who else do we have? Larry. Oh, Larry. Hey, Larry. Larry Lapointe. You guys what are you doing here? You have something you want to do for us tonight? So is it the Treasurer Parks Committee partnered with us on the first Port Pause event? And come on up, board members. And we partnered with the Conservancy on the Port Pause event, and we raised some money, and the Conservancy is presenting the Village of Port Jefferson with a check. Nice. You want to use the microphone? Come on.
Hi. So, yeah, we have a very strong board. We partnered with, this is the Vice President, Larry, Chris Ryan, Bob J. We have a strong board of about 14 to 16 people. Again, Charmaine is on our board. We help out the village whenever we're asked, as long as we have the money. We're trying to do some stuff at the country club as well now, some beautification up there. So we were involved. Kevin ran this great event, and we raised some good money, and we're using part of it. We still have some there that we're trying to do some other projects in the village. But this one was to put a dog fountain in and a people fountain as well at Joe Erlin Park. So when you go there, you'll see a really cool fountain. It has obviously bowls for the dogs and for adults as well. And
Also, you can fill your water bottle up there.
yes. So yeah, we just like to make this presentation to the village.
Thank you. We always like taking money.
Yeah, Charmaine, you should be in here.
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, right.
Ready?
Camera shy.
There. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! Dog fountain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Nice job, Larry. Nice job, Lisa.
See if it bounces.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you for keeping me on track, Barbara. The other order of business before we go to trustees' reports is we had a public hearing concerning, what was it, Brian? What code change?
Chapter 215.
Sorry, because that was with respect to the historic building on the Maryhaven property. We had a really great public hearing. We kept the public comment period open until May 22nd. Just an order of business, a resolution to close that portion of the public hearing this evening. It's already closed, but this is just housekeeping. So moved, and all in favor? Okay, good. Thank you. All right, we're going to move to trustees' reports. I'm going to start on my far left with Trustee Cassay.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for being here, and also to the folks who spoke. I know that sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking to come up and speak in front of your fellow residents, and especially into the microphone. So bravo and brava for everyone who's came and made their voices heard, because that's really the best way for us to know how to serve you, is for you to come here or to email or anything. So much appreciated. All right, so for my report tonight, downstairs we spoke briefly as a board about putting out a search for a village grant writer to contract. We've had a great grant writer, Nicole Christian, who's helped us for years, but she has become otherwise occupied, and so the board all agreed that we should put out a call for, and job listing for a grant writer and start that search. So I look forward to continuing updates there and hopefully introducing a new grant writer before long, so that the village can get all of the funding for all these great projects from as many sources as possible. As far as clean energy communities go, there's a granting program, sort of a certification agency that the village can engage with if we pass a resolution of sorts, engaging in sort of monitoring ourselves and our energy use moving forward. We will be one step closer to getting a $5,000 grant to put towards energy conservation of sorts. So we're going to look at that next meeting. Very excited to officially start to launch the tree committee. I gave to my fellow board members the, Stan, do you have that? I was trying to save trees and not print too many copies. So just Stan will find it. Anyway, meanwhile, I'll announce that the 4 residents that came forward with interest to be on the tree committee, it was Kelly Devine, Samantha A. Campora, Ann Leahy, and Janice Fleischman-Eaton. So these will be our founding members of the tree committee. So yay to them. Thank you for, I think we have a couple in the room here. And I'll briefly read the mission statement. The Port Jefferson Village Tree Committee is dedicated to promoting, preserving, and enhancing the health, beauty, and ecological vitality of the village's urban forest. Through strategic tree management, collaboration with municipal entities, and public education, the committee fosters a sustainable and resilient village that values the many benefits that trees provide, such as clean air, stormwater capture, wildlife habitat, and a sense of natural beauty. With a commitment to native tree species and effective tree-related policies, the committee will work towards a thriving arboreal legacy for current and future generations. So this is a really exciting adventure that we're about to embark on. And so, moving forward, we'll just keep it within the initial goals, which is to develop an inventory of existing trees and village property and right-of-way. We're going to hope to look for a collaboration perhaps with Stony Brook University or to get a grant for that effort because it's a large undertaking. We want to examine the current tree-related codes and make recommendations accordingly to the Board of Trustees. The committee will collaborate with nonprofit and municipal entities like the Conservancy and the village to raise and secure funding, and then hopefully identify some opportunities, which I've already been approached about from our country club as well as the DPW for sort of pilot test plantings this fall. So again, thank you for those residents who stepped up. We'll keep you updated, and then if other residents are interested in joining, they can approach the committee with that. We spoke briefly in email as a board about Sharrows, looking at a public education campaign. I know these are the shared bike lane arrows that have showed up on Main Street. They've caused some confusion. I've done some research about them. It's tough because we are not a super bike friendly place here on Long Island, Suffolk County, and so it's not widely acknowledged that we do share the roads with cyclists, and then you get, there are the sort of Saturday and Sunday sport riders, cyclists, and then there are, groups of young cyclists, and so there's a lot of layers of education and outreach that we have potential for, and so I'm hoping to work this summer with the board and with our communications teams and the paper to make sure that we can do whatever we can do as a village to educate folks about what these symbols mean, and then also again incorporate with this walkability and complete streets study to see how we can further make the streets safer and more clear for all users of the streets, be them in cars, bicycles, pedestrians, anything at all. We are really excited to announce that there is a village e-waste recycling event. You can mark your calendars for August 5th that morning. Been working with Kevin on that. That will be held up at the Perry Street lot, which is the village resident lot near the Long Island Railroad parking lot. We will be releasing information, and be sure to have it in the news, the e-report, as well as hopefully the paper regarding what will be accepted. But essentially this is an attempt to keep e-waste, which has certain kinds of metals that are very, can be toxic in landfills and otherwise can be reused so that they're not being mined, to keep those things out of the garbage and, keep them in the stream of use. So just letting you know this far in advance so that if, as your toaster breaks or, you have lights, things like this, start to just have a little box in the garage or something, if you will, and bring it on down August 5th. Lastly, we continue our educational programming at the Beach Street Community Garden. This is not just for our gardeners down there who have beds, but it's for everybody and anybody, residents, local community members. It's free of charge, and the next program will be held on June 26th at 6:30 p.m. It's a Monday, and we're calling it Chickens and Eggs. It is a program about sort of backyard chickens. We do have a code here, and I will make sure that will be available, Brian, to all of our participants. But there are a lot of folks who've come forward and with curiosities about raising their own chickens, and so that we have a community member who's come forward to talk about that a bit. And so bring your questions or your curiosities there, and you'll be more than welcome. Lastly, I just want to thank the folks who made the Maker Fair happen. I was there volunteering Saturday morning. Such a great event. So proud to host it here in Port Jeff Village. Just so very positive, something for everybody. If you didn't make it this year, please be sure to make it next year, because there's groups big and small, and the young and old. We're all very excited to have that. And that's my report.
Thank you, Rebecca. Go to my far right to Lauren. Trustee Shepro.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. Mayor Grant, are you going to be mentioning the Golden Rule visit this last weekend, or I can do that?
You can report on that. That's fine.
Just a shout out to Myrna Gordon and her volunteers and the Quakers, the Conscience Bay Quakers, and Barbara Ransom, who baked and made dinner for everybody who was visiting on the Golden Rule to come down and look at the Golden Rule and enjoy the ceremony that took place with the landing of the Golden Rule in Port Jeff Harbor. Myrna, I would invite you to come up and talk about it yourself if you haven't planned to do that already, because it was really a wonderful event, and thank you for doing that. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Chris Ryan and Mark Sternberg, Len Carolyn, and John Janicek with LISEC, because there was a great story in Newsday this last week on May 31st that highlighted the work that's going on at the Bayless Boat making shop and boatyard. And Port Jeff has been in Newsday 3 times over the past couple of days, so it's kind of amazing how much interest there is in the village lately from our regional newspaper. Of course, we're grateful to our local paper, the Port Times Record, for their steadfast coverage. It's always nice to see Port Jeff get some recognition in Newsday. I highly recommend that folks take a look at the story and also look at the video, because it's really compelling, and it talks about how Caleb Brewster is sort of under examined for his work in the Washington spy ring during the Revolutionary War, and how the Drowned Meadow Cottage Museum plays a role in that, as is the whale boat making project going on down in the Bayless Boat Shop right now. So kudos to Chris and everybody else working on that project, and to the village and the mayor for really pushing this forward on behalf of the village to help support this project. So I believe that there is a news crew coming this week, I'm told. So we might see our own mayor on TV this week if she's available to do that. Or not. I don't know.
Thanks,
I know
Lauren.
she's been invited, but anyway, I also wanted to give a quick update on menu changes at Port Jeff Country Club based on feedback that our members and guests have been providing to the management up there. So they're being very responsive, the grill at the Waterview and also at the Turn. There will be new management coming in, a new manager coming in on the campus within the next couple of days. We're not sure who that is just yet, but they're being quite responsive to the feedback that they're getting from the members and the guests. And Trustee Laux, I don't know if you have any more information to share during your report about that, but I thought I'd mention that because I think that's a very positive sign. Just a quick update on the Recreation Department in the Village Center. We have 143 children registered for camp. This year, our Director of Recreation, Renee Lummerman, added 2 extra weeks on the camp schedule to accommodate children, families who needed sort of more resource throughout the end of the summer. The summer camp ends August 11th, so there will be 2 extra weeks of camp under the name Discovery Camp. So that's August 14th to 25th. Check it out on the website. We're in discussions about hiring a security guard for the Village Center to help prevent and mitigate any kind of trespass and menacing that could possibly or may have taken place over the past few months. So there's a need for additional security there. So that's one of the things that we're looking at doing is bringing in a security guard. Now that we have our new code chief, Andrew Owen, that may change, but this is sort of the plan that we're looking at right now. The beach is open on June 24th with lifeguards. The bathrooms have been redone. I will not steal Trustee Lauk's thunder on that one, but just be aware that the license plate reader program will be taking place down at the beaches as well. So the attendants who are working down there will be checking license plates with readers, scanners that they have that are handheld. So just be aware. One more update on communications. Our graphic designer and our recreation director have been working in collaboration to create a recreation newsletter online. So it is in the works. It's going to be utilizing a program called Issue, which is sort of a flip book type program, and it really is a dedicated program, a dedicated document that will help elevate and communicate all the recreation programs that are going on 4 times a year. So we're excited to be launching that in the next couple of weeks. So that's it.
Thanks, Lauren. Trustee Laux, liaison to the Port Jeff Country Club and Recreation.
Okay. Just to add on to Trustee Shepro's report on the vendor up at the country club, we have had numerous meetings with the vendor up there. There have been some major changes in the management of both the Turn and the country club itself. In return, the management up there has offered a free burger day with beer and wine on June 23rd. So, well, we're not going to check to see if you're a member or not. The rest of this report is in relation to the Parks Department somewhat. Terry Construction Company, which did our bluff work, they finished the lower bluff and they removed the last piece of equipment that left there on May 24th, kind of a week early. The Parks Department worked all day on Thursday the 25th to get the East Beach ready to be open for the Memorial Day weekend. The lot was opened, cleaned, the barbecues were put out, the picnic tables were put out. Plans to open the bathrooms at the East Beach were delayed because when we went to open it, we had some plumbing problems. We did a complete facelift there in both bathrooms, put in new plumbing, new sinks, new hair dryers, hand dryers, new partitions between the stalls. So the East Beach bathrooms did not get opened as quickly as the beach did, and we do apologize for that. Although the original scheduled opening was June 1st, we were caught a little bit off guard when the construction equipment left so quickly. You can swim at the beach if you want. However, there's no lifeguards on duty until June 24th. If you're brave enough to go in the cold water, you're on your own. A reminder, as Trustee Shepro mentioned, you will need to register your vehicles to legally park down there. If you want to enjoy the beach, most of you, I hope, have registered your cars by now. Additionally, the kayak racks are now available at all 3 locations. The residents that have been assigned a rack need to pay for your permit in order to keep that rack. We have a great number of people who have not come down to Village Hall to pay for their permit. I do have a few residents that are requesting changes in their rack locations. So if you don't go down and pay for your rack and get your permit, those racks will become available at the end of June. They'll be reassigned, so I urge you to pick your permit up before the end of the month. Some news from the Country Club. The Country Club fiscal year ended on May 31st. Our preliminary figures show that the club most likely will be able to add approximately $400,000 to our fund balance. These funds are needed and used to maintain and renew new cart paths, bunkers, retaining walls, well repairs, and much more. All of these items are considered capital, and we do not include capital in our normal operating budget. So this money is very necessary that we keep that fund balance as high as we can. We're very fortunate to have a very healthy membership, which results in this kind of revenue. I give credit to the entire staff up at the Country Club. They do the work to make the facility attractive, which results in this strong membership. We're very fortunate to have such a great club. Even though many of us here are not members, that club is a valuable asset to the village. I firmly believe that it increases our property values here. I want to talk a little bit about a project that we're presently researching, and that is a reclaimed water. We presently are working with a golf course architect and an engineering firm to see if it's feasible to capture the water that runs down that sluiceway that runs down between our golf course and on the backside of Old Homestead Road. That water runs down to the bottom of Old Homestead. It goes under Old Homestead, and it goes into a catch basin over on Oakwood. That's the one that gave away 2 years ago, I believe, that we have repaired. We would like to come up with some kind of a program where we could capture that water to use on the golf course for irrigation. We do have a limit. We have our own well up there, but DEC is controlling the amount of water that we can take out of that well. They've limited us to 10 million gallons a year, which sounds like an awful lot of water. But in one evening, to irrigate 120 acres of fairway, we burn up about 300,000 gallons in one evening. So 10 million gallons of water, if we watered every night, which we don't, but if we had to, we'd be out of water in a short period of time. Hi. I have more. We do have another possibility that Trustee Cassay and I have discussed. This is not a new. It's not a new idea. It's a great idea. I'm going to talk about it. Whether you know it or not, a lot of gray water comes out of our sewage plant on the other side of the harbor, and that water goes into the harbor. We are going to work on some kind of a program, we hope, where we can capture that somehow and get it up to the Country Club. Right now we don't know how we're going to do it, but we are pursuing it. Lastly, the club is also working towards reestablishing trees within the Country Club. Trustee Cassay mentioned trees. We have established a little farm up there. We've cleared out an area where Trustee Cassay, with her volunteers, will be establishing trees to replace some of the older trees that have reached maybe the end of their lifespan. And Margot's getting very impatient, so I'm going to sign off at this time. Thank you.
We can talk about trees all you want, Stan.
That's my report. Yeah.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Snaden, please.
Thank you all. You've really set me up now for. Yeah. Okay, I'll try and keep it brief, but I got a couple things to read into the record. One of the things we did downstairs, I brought to the Board of Trustees to add 2 veterans and active military parking spaces to the Village of Port Jefferson, one on the east side, one on the west side, passed unanimously. Wonderful, thank you. I'm looking forward to that being installed. I just want to thank everyone for sending me up to NICOM, their annual meeting at Lake George at the beautiful Sagamore Hotel and Resort. Went to many seminars like New York State granting ethics seminars, holding effective meetings, to name a few. It was really productive, met a lot of great people up there, networked, great 3 days and back home, and thank you all for sending me. Lauren attended as well. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Now that you ask me to, I learned more in 2.5 days in Lake George than I've learned in 10 months working as a trustee in the Port Jeff Village. That was one of the most impressive programs and classes that I've ever attended. And to really learn the business of municipal government was amazing. So not that, you know, I haven't been busy working here for 10 months, but, you know, there's a lot to learn when you become an elected official for the first time in your life. And NICOM is the best instructional resource that municipal elected officials and municipal employees have at their disposal. So I appreciate the opportunity to go up. And again, like you said, Kathy Ann, I thank the village for supporting that endeavor.
Okay, the work with my one of my liaison appointments to the Architecture Review Committee continues, and they have been extremely busy. So they were able to put together 2 reports, both of tasks that they were given by the Board of Trustees. One was about one is about an electronic sign that was proposed to the board that was given to the ARC, and I'm looking at Gerard because he is our second chairman of that committee, and he is here tonight, and I've been asked to read this into the record about the electronic sign. It's a very small print. I'm sorry if I hold this up in front of everyone. The Architecture Review Committee is providing input and comment on proposed high-resolution LED communication sign. The ARC has received and reviewed all materials provided by Kevin Wood pertaining to such signage. The committee will speak of the expected impact of the communication sign within this village. The committee requests that this recommendation be entered into the record of the public hearing at which this matter will be considered. But we're doing it now, that's all right. The ARC understands the need for better communications within our village, but feels the LED sign does not reflect well on our sign code 250-31 subsection 3. Within our code, there are signs which are prohibited: neon, flashing, blinking, or moving signs. We as a village should be setting an example to our merchants and residents by following our code regulations. Furthermore, we are an historic village, and this LED sign does not meld well into the visual character of our beautiful village. The community is also concerned that such signage would be a distraction and or be an obstruction for motorists, possibly a cause for pedestrian and vehicle accidents. It is our recommendation that the village uses historical-looking kiosk signs placed in various positions throughout the village to communicate information, as well as continuing to use the garbage recycling can receptors to display information. Our recommendation to this board is not binding, and if the board plans on moving forward with the LED sign, we would suggest that the design of the sign base and framing be determined by its location within the village. The sign should be something more architectural than just a simple signpost, preferring a monument sign with the detail and material being wood or stone. As per location, this committee feels strongly against placing it outside of Village Hall for its negative visual effect, and certainly not at the Highway Department because of the lack of visual exposure. May we suggest that outside of the village center, the island at the exit from the ferry, or the entrance to the Salt Marsh parking lot off of Barnum would be areas of increased traffic exposure, both by pedestrian and motorist. These areas would also be seen by not only residents, but by tourists visiting our village. The Architectural Review Committee would like to thank the Board of Trustees for its consideration of the committee's comments. Respectfully submitted, the Architectural Review Committee. Okay, and the next one is on my phone. And this was with regard to the historic structure at the Maryhaven property. Okay, The Architectural Review Committee is writing to provide input and comment on the proposed zoning code changes currently under discussion by the Board of Trustees, which would add a conditional use to Zone RM, allowing for changes to bulk regulations when preserving an historic structure. The committee will speak to the expected impact of these code changes on the physical environment of the village. The committee requests that this letter be read into the record of the public hearing at which the matter will be considered. The ARC understands that the changes under discussion are designed to be beneficial to a property owner, i.e. to allow for additional development beyond the limits otherwise set by code. This benefit would come within the obligation to maintain and preserve an existing on-site historic structure and would require the approval of the Board of Trustees for the statute to apply, which would be granted when the preservation of the structure is deemed sufficiently in the public interest. The ARC understands that this code will apply to all properties located in the RM zone as well as all properties located in the PO or professional office zone, which cites the conditional uses of the RM zone as also applying to PO. While the new code could theoretically apply to any property in either of these two zones, the ARC observes that the RM and PO zones are limited to two relatively small areas of the village zoning map. There are several properties in these zones with an existing historical structure for which the statute would likely be used: the former Maryhaven Center, St. Charles Hospital, and the original structure of Mather Hospital. Here is some background into the significance of these properties as follows. William J. Wharton bequeathed the funds of $500,000 to build Maryhaven, the Center of Hope, on September 12, 1930. The Daughters of Wisdom moved into the building to begin caring for the children who were severely disfigured, handicapped, or disabled. St. Charles Hospital was opened on February 27, 1907, and is the only Long Island hospital accredited by the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities for Inpatient Rehabilitation for Adults and Children. It is under the sponsorship of the Diocese of Rockville Center and serves hundreds of thousands of Long Islanders each year. John Titus Mather, who was a shipbuilder, died in 1928 and instructed his executor to create a non-sectarian charitable hospital. On December 29, 1929, Mather Hospital opened as the first general hospital in the town of Brookhaven. These three historical buildings within our village have served this community, generating, as their creator stated, hope, faith, and the power of healing. The existing structure on Maryhaven site being proposed for preservation is an elegant example of early 20th century institutional architecture. It is an appealing, proportioned, and well-built structure. Even though its use may change, it is in the opinion of this committee an edifice worth preserving. The Architectural Review Committee strongly supports these efforts to find a workable solution to accomplish this goal. The ARC understands that the changes to bulk regulations, i.e. allowable scope of development, that have been under discussion fall into three broad categories: increased structural lot coverage, i.e. more or larger buildings; increased height, story limitations, i.e. taller buildings; and increased allowable clearance limits, i.e. removal of existing natural vegetation and woodland beyond the limits otherwise allowed. The ARC understands that the initial draft changes, which were publicized for public hearing on May 1st, proposed increased lot coverage and clearance of vegetation, but did not propose a change to allowable height. However, a member of the committee attended a subsequent board work session at which a modified draft was developed, which would eliminate any additional clearance allowance, but would add an additional height allowance, 47 feet, 4 stories, instead of the 35 feet, 3 stories, otherwise applicable. In response to the second draft, the Architectural Review Committee would like to offer its enthusiastic support. The committee sees this code as an important first step toward architectural preservation in the village, and in addition to supporting this change, would also encourage the board to consider further steps that would help preserve its historic fabric. A comprehensive process of cataloging important structures in the village and an exploration of the broader code changes that would be required to incentivize and or mandate their preservation could help to protect the historic fabric of the village more systematically and proactively. It is the committee's recommendation that we begin to think of designating an IPP to be created for all future consideration of historic preservation within our village, not only for commercial zoning, but also including the residential zones. The ARC supports the board's post-work session draft as a goal to save an historic structure. In addition, this committee would like to see input by CAC in addressing the clearance of land and all environmental impact. Respectfully submitted, the Architectural Review Committee. And that concludes my report. I didn't write it. I just had to read it. Thank you.
Brian?
The ARC's opinion on it, I mean, the board technically closed the public comment period on May 22nd, closed the public hearing tonight.
Okay.
If they want to deem that read into the record and just accept it for that one moment, they could do that.
Okay.
Oh, it was? Oh, it was, okay. So it was submitted before the closing date, then it is part of the record.
Okay, I was unclear. I guess I think thank you. I'm not sure. Whew, all right. Well, the good news is my report is just going to be a little bit of a walk down memory lane, and I'm not going to it's not going to be a long walk. But this being my last meeting is really something else. I think about 14 years, and I was just driving up the hill, and I thought, last time I won the mayor's election, I would have 24 more meetings, and as I was driving up the hill, I said, this is the last one. I was like, wow, that happened quickly. But, there's a lot of people I really want to thank, and my mom and dad are definitely at the top. Trying to do this without getting emotional. My mom is a real class act. She was my role model, and she was a great mayor for this community, and, I just wish she could be with us more. But my dad is a patient guy, and he's really supportive, and he's really proud, so it makes me proud to make him proud. My siblings, they've been there. Tracy, my new family, Drew, thank you guys so much. And for all your unconditional love and support. It's been fabulous. Volunteers, you guys, all of these people in this room, they've been volunteers on these boards and the committees. And endless hours they've given to this village in 14 years. And all with the same goal, making this place a better place. The public, you guys in the room, the regulars. I'd really like to thank a guy by the name of Don Pollock, who I haven't seen, but Don used to come to every meeting, and, we didn't agree on a lot, but it didn't matter. Because, I always liked seeing him. I wish him well, and I hope he's still with us. I don't know where he is. I spoke to him. Okay, good. He's still alive and well then. All our partners, the not-for-profits, the Chamber, the BID, LISEC in the room, Arts Council, the Conservancy in the room, a historian in the room, Theater 3, everybody who makes this place go round, and all that good stuff that we do as a family together. The team at Village Hall, the executive staff, all the hardworking laborers, Steve at Highway, David Parks, Barbara, make the world go round. And all the people who entrusted me 7 elections in a row. It's pretty remarkable. I am the chief financial officer. That's my primary responsibility. I took office, we had a $300,000 deficit. And every year, with which I've grown our surplus, it's now currently at $1.8 million. And Treasurer just gave me some great news downstairs that we're heading to a $760,000 surplus this year. And every year what we do is we take that money, we roll it back into concrete and brick and mortar and the capital projects. So we hope that there's going to be an ongoing capital improvements list, because you got to keep up. We started with renovating a rat-infested country club building. The superintendent of Greens wouldn't even work there. And we rebuilt a beautiful state-of-the-art maintenance facility and a cold storage shed, and redid the golf course. I've always, growing up next door to the golf course and washing dishes there for Mr. Spiliotis, that place will always hold a place in my heart, and it's worth saving for this community. It's one of the crown jewels. I rezoned the waterfront to protect her against further industry and commercialization. We created the M1 and the M2 zones. We instituted the steep slopes ordinance to protect our hills and save our vegetation and prevent erosion. A major, something that needed to happen here in the 7 Hills of Port Jeff. I worked with the EPA to build a water filtration building in Carolina Ballfield, and so it can circumvent the toxic sludge that was coming from the Lawrence wasteland that was making its way into our harbor. And when we dedicated the parkland for that building, we got in exchange preserving over 3 acres down at Mount Sinai Harbor as a bird sanctuary. We kept National Grid open. She was going to close her doors and shut us off, and we kept her open, and we were the first municipality to negotiate the glide path while other communities kicked and screamed and didn't want to. We had a nice long 8-year glide path, and thanks to Brian Egan and your leadership, you know, people were listening to us. We've renovated our beaches after Irene and Sandy, and we're still stabilizing the bluff and the shoreline, and stabilization and hardening the coastline is important sometimes, and coastal resiliency projects are important at other times. Renovated all our major parking lots except for the Gap lot, and we did that using metered parking funds. You folks have never had to pay for one parking lot to be redone, one light, one security camera. Millions and millions and millions of dollars at no cost to the taxpayer to make it safe to come to the village and shop and, you know, get back to your car after a hard day's work. We've been working directly with Suffolk County to reduce the crime. You heard it tonight. We install cameras and they connect directly to the real-time crime center there, and they work. They are working. We started Uptown Funk. We had to redevelop this poor Upper Port area, and we did that through partnerships with New York State, MTA, the DOT. We got grants. We persisted. We still need to do work uptown, but we're doing it, and that area will begin to transform more and more on its own. We founded the Farmers Market. We completed the boardwalk at Harborfront Park. We relocated the Little Gray House, which is now the infamous Spiring Museum. We founded the Regatta, where we raised money for pancreatic cancer. We rebuilt Rocket Ship Park and other pocket parks, such as Founders Court down by Danfords and Baker's Alley. We rebuilt our DPW fleet, paved more linear miles of roadway than all the other administrations combined. We support our kids, our schools, our business improvement districts, and we've carried on the great traditions of prior administrations, such as our beloved Dickens Festival. I couldn't do any of these things by myself. I have always had the support of the Board of Trustees. We have always worked together. We can disagree, but we always agree to disagree. But we always follow the golden rule of law, and that the guiding light has always been in the best interest of this village. It's not about me. It's not about her or him. It's about us collectively as a community and about a village. And when I made my decision to retire and step down, it was because I felt I was able to leave this village and this community in a place where we're soaring, we're building, we're working together. We're building parks and community gardens and workforce housing projects and saving historic buildings. And yes, we're going to be in good hands because of the people who are here. They're all capable, honest, hardworking in their own capacity, and have learned a lot over time together. And this isn't a crash course in municipal governance. It's a vibrant, well-rounded community that has many, many demands, facets, areas of expertise, and as a mayor, they all must be addressed inclusively in order to maintain the quality of life we've built and we can be so proud to call home, and to which I've been so honored to be your mayor. Thank you. And now I'll open it to public comment.
Did you really have to take that much time?
Mayor, may I have a point of order, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. I rarely get to say anything during the public to be heard section, but I wanted to add a little point. You know, I've served as village attorney and special counsel for nearly a dozen villages from Huntington Bay out to East Hampton. And I have to say, you are one of the most effective chief executives I've seen in any of those villages. This village certainly appreciates your work, and I always think, whenever I show up to Village Hall and I see you in that seat, I always think of the quote from Winston Churchill that said, "A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, but an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." And I felt that so summed you up so well, that you were mild and in your recitation of what you've done for this community in the hurricanes and the LIPA, where you stood alone on the LIPA calling for that plant to stay open and continuing on the tax fight. When the town and everyone else abandoned us, you were the one who said, let's go to litigation on that case. And to show up and be that effective I know the public certainly appreciates it. But I have to say, having seen all these other villages, that the impact that it takes on to be that level of prepared and concentration and the personal sacrifice and the business sacrifice and the time sacrifice and the family sacrifice that it has, you lay it on the altar of this village and it surrounds you on your performance. So thank you, Mayor. I just thank you for that privilege.
Anybody else? And public comments open. Good, bad, indifferent. Dom, Bruce, and then I'll go to Joey. Whoop, Dom first, then Bruce. Come on up, Dom. 2.0. How you doing, honey?
Dom Famularo, 805 Chambers Court in the wonderful village of Port Jefferson. We chose this town, my wife and I. People think the most valuable thing they have as a resource is money. It is not. It is time. What you have sacrificed in your life for the time, the selflessness effort of seeing you in these past over 20 years and being involved in the parking committee for 10 years, seeing you put hours upon hours into dedicated effort of just hard work and positive energy to improve this village. You have improved this village, and for that you have improved our lives. Understand the impact that you have had. Your responsibility now is to move into the town of Brookhaven and kick some ass. And as Brian said, do what you have done here and now do it there. Because the lives you will affect are people you may never meet. There are some people in this village who you may never meet and you haven't met that you have affected their lives positively. I've worked with Kathy Ann closely. You have done a wonderful job. Stan has been great. Rebecca, you have done fantastic in working with you all. It is amazing, and for that, saying thank you is almost not enough. So from the bottom of my heart and my wife's heart, we really are with you in whatever you choose to do. We are 100% behind you. Live long and prosper.
Dom, thank you so much. I love you. I love you. Thank you, Karen. Mr. Miller.
Greetings and congratulations on a long and successful career as mayor. I just had a couple of short business items. You had asked for comment on Maryhaven. I have not much, but I'm wondering if we could work with the schools when we configure these new apartments to try to bring more students, young kids, families with kids into the district, you know, instead of one-bedroom apartments and two-bedroom apartments, maybe try to work in that direction. The power plant, there's batteries are supposed to be placed somewhere, a lot of batteries on Long Island. Do we know anything about that? Have you gotten any word from LIPA on them?
According to Mr. Falcone, the RFP for battery storage is being, the responses are being examined, and the awards will be made probably within the next 4 to 6 months.
All right, well, we should just advocate on that. Thank you.
The information is not available as to whether or not who is planning, but yes, I believe there is a proposal for some battery backup storage at this facility. Maybe you guys can hire me back as a consultant. No, I'm kidding. Lisa. Oh, I'm sorry, Joey. I apologize. Joey and then Lisa. Sorry.
Joey Zangrillo, known as Joey Z from Z Peta, 217 Bayview Terrace. My questions are to Trustee Lauren Shepro. It has come to my attention that you have made inquiry and have been reviewing my restaurant file at the Building and Planning Department on several occasions. Shortly thereafter, I have received multiple visits from the fire marshal, when normally I only get one a year. So my question is, your extensive review and inquiry and reviewing my restaurant file since, let me see, we got in there around 1997. Does this have anything to do with the multitude of fire inspections by the fire marshals? And the second question I have, what other business restaurants have you been inquiring about other than mine? And my last question is, the third question would be, have you spoken to or instructed or requested any village employee, village attorney, or village fire marshals to look into my folder or come and do an inspection on my restaurant?
I think you need to.
Thanks for your question. I appreciate you asking in this public forum, so I can answer in this public forum. Several months ago into my tenure as a trustee, I had asked the village attorney to report on any outstanding fire code violations and any outstanding legal cases that the village is currently dealing with. As a trustee, it is my responsibility to understand where the village is at risk, or if it is at risk, or if there is any information that will help me represent the residents of the village. So I asked that, and I was provided in executive session an update. Am I speaking okay?
No,
Can you hear me?
I said everything, so go ahead. So.
Okay. So the whole board received an update during an executive session. I don't have the date, but I think it was probably in, I don't know, March or February, on the outstanding legal matters, the lawsuits that the village is confronted with right now, or at that point. I asked for another, and I didn't get an update on the fire code violations. So about a month ago, I asked for it again, and I asked for another update on the legal actions that are that the village is currently involved in. Because I really feel like it's an important thing for the trustees to be updated on a regular basis, on a timely basis on these matters, because has an impact on the village. So I was instructed to
By who?
meet with the, I'll get to it.
Oh, yes, okay. Good.
I was instructed by, I believe it was the deputy village attorney and the clerk, and I don't remember who instructed me exactly. Maybe Mr. Egan did, to meet, or the mayor even, meet with the.
So you're saying that the mayor?
I'll just finish. I'll finish.
Village attorney over here, Brian Egan.
Joey,
instructed you?
let her answer, and then you can.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
we'll
got
go back and
confused
forth
there.
if we're allowed to.
Sorry.
I'm not going to do that tonight.
Yeah, I
But
didn't think so. Yeah, so I was instructed via email to have a meeting with the deputy village attorney, and who is also in charge of the building and planning department. And I think almost maybe all the trustees were copied on these emails, because I asked, pretty much I try and keep an open book where I'm making these requests are concerned. So I made an appointment to meet with the deputy village attorney, who took me through not just any code violations that might have been open for ZPTA, but all of the violations that were currently open. So that was my inquiry, and I, as a trustee, to your second question, have no authority to direct any employee of the village to do anything. So I can ask questions, but I cannot direct an employee to do something, and the fire marshal is an employee. So I would never have instructed a fire marshal on how to do their work.
Well, I had an inspection today by the fire marshal, and there were no issues based on they were counting chairs, but although there's an occupancy, there are chairs, and they did not summons me, or they did not give me a violation, or they did not give me an appearance ticket. So they were again there today. And so I don't know about what you're talking about, but most probably I'll see him again tomorrow. It seems like it's an ongoing thing. I have been working with the town since 2018 with Mike Morbillo from End Design Architects, and we've been working back and forth with plans that the village has plans on my restaurant, and they've gone back and forth, and we had COVID. And things got on a hiatus for 1 or 2 years, and nothing was said, or no emails or anything of that nature. Then we went back, and then there was a change of regime in the building department, and there were new people with different views and different ideas from the previous plan that we were engaging with the past employees of the building department. So I didn't see any problem, and I still don't see any problems, other than I was just taken back that a trustee who's for the residents like me and the business people would be there to say, hey, Joe, I'm having a problem, or instead of me getting, basically I feel harassed when we have a full dialogue. As of today, I have an attorney who's on file, Patty Stern. We've been working with Mike Morbillo with End Design for 5 years, with many, many different plans going back and forth with the village. So I don't know what your issue was with me. It was just me that you were going through all the files, or was other restaurants that you've inquired about and you foiled, or was it just me?
I didn't foil any documents related to this inquiry. I simply asked.
Who'd you ask again? I'm so sorry. I keep on missing.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not, question asked, question answered. I'm not gonna do the
Okay.
cross-examination.
Okay.
But Joey, thank you. I know that you are working with the building and planning department, and I know you have your attorney, and you're trying to close out your site plan conditions.
I do want to make one more point, and that is that when I asked what the outstanding fire code violations were, I didn't make a determination in terms of which business or what organization was involved. I just read the material that was available.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you very
Sorry you're going through that.
much. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
The name is Phil Velasquez. I live at 18 Dickerson Court, Port Jefferson, New York. I'm also president of the Canyon Creek Homeowners Association. First of all, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank
it's
you,
not
Phil.
a retirement. It's a start of a new career. I believe.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate that.
Okay. I also appreciate all the trustees who came to visit our community to understand what that Mary Haven location will look like from our end. We're probably the neighborhood that will be most affected by the change at Mary Haven. We have 19 units on 10 acres of property, which comes out to about 40 people. On the other hand, now we're looking at a community that'll have perhaps 400 people, 300, 400 people on a similar acreage. Trustee Shepro mentioned the Newsday articles. I was misquoted in today's Newsday article. First of all, it's not the optics that we're concerned with. It's the quality of life. If you visit our community, we're very quiet. We have a lot of greenery, and now it's going to change. We have 8 or 9 homes whose backyards will be facing that community with just a very fragile fence between us. Some of the homes are right on top of that property line, and our understanding from some of the plans are that against that property line there'll be new parking spaces and 3-story buildings. We are very concerned about the quality of our life and also our property values. So whatever was said in Newsday, whatever that reporter got incorrect, it's not the optics. It's our quality of life. I probably live the closest to that historic building. I look at that historic building constantly. I work from home. My office looks right at it. When we moved to Port Jeff 23 years ago, we looked up at that building and we saw the cross. And my wife said, you know, I like looking at that cross every day. So we have a lot of respect for that building. But what we don't want to do is sacrifice the quality of life that we have to preserve that building. So I just leave that on the record as just to correct what was said today in Newsday.
Appreciate that, Phil. Thank you very much. Lisa.
Lisa Perry, 535 High Street. I just want to, I'm a little biased because Margot and I have been friends probably 40 years, but I've also ran all of her campaigns, and I just wanted to thank her for the support of the nonprofits. I'm involved with the Country Club Management Committee. I'm the president. I'm president of the Conservancy, president of the foundation that runs the aftercare program, and all the other events, and everybody else has talked about how great she is, but I think her support of the nonprofits over the last 14 years has just been something that needs to be, I'm hoping that the future boards keeps that support going for all the nonprofits, SLISEC, the Arts Council. She shows up to every event, every single event that every nonprofit runs, so I just wanted to have that go on record. Thanks.
Thanks, Lisa. And thank you for your volunteerism and your service to this community. Larry?
I had to step up. I couldn't let you go without an expression of love. Sitting in your deputy seat for so many years, we've been in a lot of foxholes together.
We were.
Fought a lot of battles together.
Yep.
And the one thing that everybody in this room knows is that everything you did came from a place of love. First and foremost, love. Love for this community, love for the people that live here, love for our way of life. And you've done a magnificent job. And the next chapter of your life, I hope, is as joyful and as full of peace and happiness as mine is right now.
Thank you, Larry.
Congratulations.
Appreciate you. Love you. Thank you. La Pointe. Barbara?
Two hats. Director of Operations for the Greater Port Jefferson Chamber of Commerce, and as a resident, 409 East Broadway, Port Jeff. Barbara Ransom. I want to thank you because public service is not easy, and 14 years as a whole. Anyone that can stay in that position for as long as you have, whether you have people that aren't in favor, are in favor, it doesn't matter, you know? It's because you've done the job, you've put in the time, and it's been a pleasure. I've known your family for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now my husband has coffee with your dad down on the bluff.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you and I have had foxholes, but I appreciate all the work.
Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate you too.
And I wish you well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Barbara. Okay. Art, you want to close the door for us? Close the chapter for me?
Arthur Epp, 206 East Main Street. I've said many times, I'm a fan of good closure, and this is big-time closure. I don't have any notes, and I really don't know what I'm going to say, but you know what? My heart's wide open, and I hope it's good. 14 years is a long time. The end of 14 years provides this historic moment. And this moment is not only historic, it's bittersweet. In American politics, there's an ebb and flow such that a really capable elected official can lose an election, then come back years later to serve again. 14 years of public service is substantial. 14 consecutive years of public service as mayor is quite special. It entails that you ran 7 campaigns. It entails that you won 7 elections. You served 7 terms, and you served 7 terms well. So I'm going to say on public record, you rolled 7s. Still going. One person we didn't mention who isn't here tonight is Michael Mort. And I consider him a friend now, as I consider you a friend as well. A longtime resident of this community, someone whom I have a great deal of respect for, a few years ago told me that he believed the 2 people in Port Jefferson Village who love this community the most are Michael Mort and Margot Garant. On some level, this is kind of fun, and I believe it qualifies as situational irony. But on a deeper level, there's something very important that I think is worth mentioning. Mr. Egan went with Churchill, so I'm going to quote Elie Wiesel, who was a Nobel laureate, a Holocaust survivor, a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He said, "The opposite of love is not hate. It is indifference. If you love our community, you can't be indifferent to the issues that affect our community. If you love our community, you have to be cognizant of these issues and passionate. And if you love this village, you have to show up in this forum and wear that passion on your sleeve." I've witnessed Mr. Mort and Mayor Grant have some very spirited discussions over the years. And you know, in retrospect, it was to the benefit of us all, because that is the hallmark of what a representative democracy is. My last thought is deeply personal, and I think it is quite revealing about our mayor. I'm your neighbor on East Main Street, and there was a moment that is deeply embedded not only in my consciousness, but in my heart. It occurred at the end of March in 2020. This was the onset of the pandemic, and Governor Cuomo had issued an order to shelter in place. I have a propensity to do my own self-appointed neighborhood watch. I'll walk around East Main, Arden, Maine, and go back just to see what's going on. I did this one day and didn't see another human being. It felt like I was experiencing, there was a film in 1971 called The Omega Man. It was eerie. The next day, I do the same thing. The first person I see is Mayor Garant. We stopped for 90 seconds, and it was one of the most unique interactions in my life. Because there are no platitudes here. We're looking in each other's eyes as neighbors, as friends, saying, "Are you all right?" Because this was a moment we didn't know how the virus was transmitted. We didn't know the degree to which it was lethal. And the concern and that human moment was special, but what happened afterwards, moments, was even more special, and that's why I want to say this on public record. As this beautiful meeting of the minds and hearts ended, you started walking across Arden, and I just said, you know, this could last 2 years. I had read the book, The Great Influence, and I was familiar with 1918. And I'm paraphrasing for the benefit of all. Our mayor said, the heck with that. That can't be. This town would be a ghost town, and I won't let that happen. What that meant to me was, figuratively, we were saying, damn the torpedoes, full steam ahead. I'm at the helm, and I'm bringing this to safe harbor. The point is this. That moment crystallized your indomitable spirit, this special will of perseverance, and those personality characteristics are what made you an excellent mayor and will make you an excellent supervisor for Brookhaven Township.
Thank you. Thank you, Art.
So the three things I have to say are, thank you for being our mayor, good luck to you in November, and God bless you.
Thank you, Art. Thank you very much. Okay, if nobody else has anything they want to say about the village, we're going to close the public hearing. Motion to close? Thank you, guys. Love you all. And Godspeed, and I'll be on that side for a change. How about that?
We're in trouble.
Just know your budget.